Hello and welcome to this exciting Big Finish panel at Brit Sci-Fi. Now, I'm going to confess to you straight away that I have a script in front of me for this introduction and for some of the questions. So if you see my eyes moving around, that's why. For those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Nicholas Briggs. And as well as being the voice of the Daleks on BBC Television's Doctor Who, I'm also the creative director of Big Finish Productions. I don't hear a cheer. Oh, well. Since 1996, Big Finish has been producing high-quality full-cast audio drama with hundreds of productions to choose from. The majority of our audio plays are based on popular TV series such as Doctor Who, Space 1999, The Avengers, Blake Seven, with many of the original actors from those series reprising their roles. As part of the Brit Sci-Fi Weekend, we thought you might be interested in a behind-the-scenes peek at the production of a Big Finish audio from start to finish. To that end, we've assembled the team behind one of our latest Doctor Who stories, the, at the time of broadcast, unreleased Ninth Doctor adventure, Girl Deconstructed, which was written by Lisa McMullen. Hello, Lisa.
Hello.
Script edited by Matt Fitton. Hello, Matt.
Hello.
With music by Howard Carter. Hello, Howard.
Hello.
I expected him to sing. And directed by Helen Goldwyn. Hello, Helen.
Hello.
Surely you should sing. Anyway, now the first question goes to Matt. How long ago was it that you were told that we would be recording new Doctor Who stories with Christopher Eccleston?
I think I first heard about a year ago. And we started putting things together with your first introductory box set, Nick. And at the same time, we started putting together other stories as well to reintroduce the Ninth Doctor to the world.
What about how Chris came on board? I mean, how many stories did we know were required?
At the very beginning, it's a run of 12 stories. The first three, the box set Ravagers, which is already out by now, written by Nick, is a sci-fi space epic in time and space and everything in between. And so the other 9 stories in the run, we brought in a range of our Big Finish writers, asked people to pitch ideas, looking for things that would, catch the listener's attention, would be interesting for Chris to perform, and some variety, really, just everything that Doctor Who does. It could be anywhere in time and space, historical, contemporary, future. And so we looked to our pool of writers and invited them to offer ideas. And we took those pitches and ran them past our executive producers and the BBC and Chris himself to see which ones took hold and fired the imagination.
What kind of story did you want to commission from Lisa in particular?
Well, it's interesting that the second set, we specifically wanted to do one historical, one contemporary, and another kind of future spacey wacy one. And I think because of the order that I'd asked people, when I first went to Lisa and asked for a pitch, I think she came up with a really good historical idea, but that slot had already been taken. So I said, could you do something set around contemporary Earth, quite domestic in scale, something that felt like the Ninth Doctor's stories that we saw on TV, really, because what Russell T Davies did when he brought back the character was really kind of ground it in reality, in the day-to-day, what we saw with Rose and her family in a contemporary London estate setting. So something along those lines I was looking for. So Lisa came up with the idea for Girl Deconstructed.
What are there any particular parameters or restrictions, for writers writing a script? Like, I didn't know, number of cast, that kind of thing?
Yes, so we have a budget, of course. So there are a certain number of actors we can use. I mean, it used to be in the days when we were able to go into studio, we were also restricted by the number of booths within the actual physical space, because the actors come in and record their parts individually in a studio in normal times. Though we were doing this remotely, there would still be a restriction on the number of cast, because within a scene, when you're listening on audio, you don't want to have too many voices all at once. You need to be able, the listener needs to be able to keep track of who's speaking, who's moving where, and just to help the story flow along. And it helps to focus in on the relationships, and dialogue really is at the heart of everything.
Oh, thanks, Matt. Lisa, how did you feel knowing you were going to write for the Ninth Doctor?
When it was first announced, I was so excited, and you sit and you hope and you cross your fingers that maybe somebody will come to you and say, do you want to do this? And then when Matt did come to me and say, how does this sound? Then yeah, really, really thrilled. Because I remember we'd been waiting for this for ages. And we never, ever, ever, I don't think, thought it would happen, because Chris has been quite famously, doesn't seem to have wanted to come back to Who at all, but then did a convention last year or the year before the pre-COVID days, and had such a blooming lovely time that I think that persuaded him that actually Doctor Who fans are lovely, lovely people, and we absolutely adore him.
Talk us through the script writing process. How does it start for you?
With a horrendous blank page, and a deadline, and panic and fear. Actually, fear. I usually try to start, especially a Doctor Who story, with thinking about something that is frightening or scary, or something that stirs negative emotions, because what the Doctor famously does is he helps and he makes you better and he makes you feel better. So this, shall I talk about this particular story, or?
Yeah, let's deconstruct, girl, deconstruct it, if I can say it.
So it came, actually it had a different title to start with, but it came from a childhood terror that I had, because my parents used to tell me that if I opened the windows too far, I would fall out, and then I'd never see them again. And I must have been 2 or 3, so I didn't realize what death was. I just thought I would be in some altered state where I wouldn't be able to communicate with them, or they wouldn't be able to communicate with me. So we'd both still be there in the house, but we wouldn't be able to talk to each other. Very odd. So that was the starting point, just thinking about what it would be like if suddenly you were in the same environment as your loved ones, but you couldn't make contact with them, and they weren't aware of your presence.
That's such a brilliant, inspiring idea for a story, isn't it? It's sort of sweet and terrifying at the same time. Did you get any initial feedback on your storyline, or did the feedback start coming when you were underway with the script?
Oh, that's a good question. There's always feedback right from the very beginning. So what will happen is I'll send a paragraph to Matt, or whoever's script editing, and they'll fire back thoughts on whether this seems like a vaguely good idea, with any brilliant hints about what might make it more interesting or more frightening or more apt for the particular characters that you're writing for. And then you'll expand it to a couple of pages. So you'll then plot out the main beats of the story, and then that goes back to Matt, the script editor, and then over to Nick, and you get notes back again saying, this is a great idea, that ending's terrible. I'm notoriously bad at endings. When I write a script, I usually send the first draft to Matt with a massive sentence at the end in capital letters that says, and then here at the end, I'm going to do something really good, but I haven't worked that out yet.
No one's good at endings, Lisa. I'll tell you that now. None of us are any good at endings, because we don't know endings in our lives. You know what I mean? They're always difficult. And by the way, how long did the process take this time round?
Well, because it was written during 2020, which was coronavirus times, it felt like about 17 years, but was probably actually really, really quick. I can't actually remember. Matt, can you remember roughly how long the process was?
I think it was maybe only a couple of weeks to get the storyline sorted out, and then maybe a month to 2 months to do the actual script. It was quite a quick turnaround from what I remember. Yeah, and I think that's something people may not realize, is that we do work out the story in advance, where everything's going. I mean, some writers like to begin writing and then see where the story takes them. But we don't have that luxury, really. We need to have pinned down the entire outline of what happens at the end, how the Doctor fixes everything, because everybody needs to be able to confirm and approve that works as a Doctor Who story. So that's your starting point. The storyline is kind of the skeleton for the script, and writers then kind of make it exciting, flesh it out, and delve into the characters. There's always tweaks and scope for doing exciting and interesting things as you go along, but you still follow the roadmap of the story.
Now, Lisa, you've written for other media. You write for television quite regularly. What would you say the difference is between writing audio and other media?
The money. Sorry, couldn't resist. I come from a background of theatre, so I found audio actually I found it easier than writing for television initially, because like theatre, audio is very talky. There's lots of dialogue. A lot of what you say has to be communicated through the dialogue, and we'll get to the amazing things that the sound guys do in a bit. But so you can't, with television, you tend to try to show what's happening, which you can't do with audio, which can be really difficult, because you want to communicate that there's a giant green alien blobby thing in the distance without saying, oh look, Doctor, here comes a giant green alien blobby thing. So that's challenging. And also, because the audience can't see the different characters, they have to rely on the vocal tics and mannerisms and the tone of the characters' voices. So you have to try to really capture each character's voice and make it somehow different from the other characters around them.
Did you sit in on the recording of this episode?
No, I didn't. That was what is great about this job, is that quite often you get to be in the recordings, and so you can actually watch what the actors are doing with the words that you've written. And usually when you get the actor and the director and the designers all involved, they make it so much better than it looks on the page. But no, because of, again, coronavirus, I couldn't be in at the recording, and I was, for other reasons, I couldn't look in to see how it was progressing.
Because we could have had you in on the clean feed session, which is the means by which we record over the internet. But oh well. Hey, listen, shall we have a little listen to a clip? Let's.
Yes.
Dad?
Oh, hello. This is Mr. MacDonald, Marnie's dad.
Dad?
I was just wondering if she was with you. Only she didn't come home last night, and it's not like her.
Dad, I'm right behind you. Or am I right in front of you? I don't know where I am.
Have you got any idea where she might be?
Everywhere.
If you hear from her,
Dad!
can you tell her she's not in any trouble?
Dad, why can't you hear me?
But to please come home.
I am home, except, well, I feel strange.
Okay.
Everything is fractured, or I'm fractured.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Hello, police, please.
Why can't you see me?
I want to report my daughter missing.
I'm not missing.
Marnie MacDonald. She's 15. She didn't come home last night.
I haven't left the house.
I think she might have run away.
I haven't. Dad, I'm here. I'm right here, Dad. Please, help me. Somebody, please help me.
All right, don't get your knickers in a twist. I heard you the first time. Honestly, nag, 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 nag. I Migration of the Seraphim. Fantastic. Hang on, that's not right. What are you doing there? Talk about the long way round. You'd be quicker on a pogo stick. Unless this thing's stuck again.
Somebody please help me!
Hello, who are you?
There you are. Now, Helen, normally you'd be recording in a studio, sitting behind the glass in the director's chair. Lisa mentioned about studio recordings earlier, so did Matt. But this was recorded during lockdown. How does that work? As if we didn't know, but might not.
Well, yes, Big Finish has come up with this amazing system that I think a lot of other audio companies eventually came across. But I think we were some of the first, weren't we? Where we use a central recording system called CleanFeed. So everybody gets a link sent to them in their internet, and then we all click on that link and we meet each other in the internet magically. And it's kind of like, I just described it to an actress today as it's like being in the same building, but in different booths, little rooms where you can't see each other. It's exactly the same sound quality as you would have in a studio. It's just you don't have any visual connection with anyone or anything. And that is quite a different process. It uses quite a different kind of concentration and energy. What's your process when you receive a script, first of all? What do you do first of all? Well, I have to read it. I have to read it. So I do a lot of script reading. And I think some people probably take notes as they read, but I just have to read and digest and understand the story and the characters. And then I will schedule that directing day. So I have to go through each scene, work out who's in it, how long it will take to record it, and then shuffle the scenes around so that it all makes sense, that people are in the studio and they can do several scenes in a row. And that's quite a laborious process. And then once I've done the schedule, I can start thinking about getting the actors in place. So the casting process. And that involves trawling through people's demos. So people have their voice demos online and with their agents online, and you listen and listen to lots of different voices until you go, that's the one, I want that one. But of course, this has been complicated during COVID because we need people who have studios at home. So you might find the perfect voice, but they haven't got a home studio. So then you have to compromise and get someone who's similar, but they have the equipment and the ability to record from home. Do you make notes on the script about, your thoughts about a scene in advance, or do you wait until you hear what the actors have to offer? Well, I'll always go through it 2 or 3 times, before we record to find the emotional beats of it. So there are moments where you think, oh, I have to have that moment kind of really standing out, or there's a subtext where something that the listeners don't know yet, and that you want the actor to be informed about that so that it comes out in their voice. Because as long as they know what's coming, they don't have to, layer anything on top of it. It will come out in their voice, and it adds depth and texture to the scene. How was it working with Christopher Eccleston for the first time? It was really exciting. I never in a million years thought that I would be directing him. I just knew that I wanted him to work with Big Finish. I knew that he'd have a great time with Big Finish. And when I heard he was coming to do these, I was so thrilled for the fans. I think this is what they've been waiting for. And then when I was asked to direct him, it's like, oh, okay. And it's quite intimidating because I had that impulse. More than anything, I want everyone to have a wonderful day. Of course, you want to create a wonderful drama, but you want everyone to love the process of creating it. And it was even more important for him because he'd signed up for these 12 stories. You think, well, you don't want him to have a miserable experience on the 4th one because then he's going to dread the rest of it. So, yeah, it's a big responsibility to make sure that he is having a great time. So, yeah, just trying to make him feel welcome and valued. And of course, he's amazing in the role, and that's thrilling. So it was very easy in that respect. I always think that if people are having a good time, they're more creative. Yeah. And they want to feel trusted. Because I am an actor, I trust actors. Even if they're not doing a brilliant job first time, you have to make them feel trusted because then they can relax and do it better. Whereas if you say, oh, no, that wasn't very good, it tends to get a bit worse. next time.
I'll bear that in mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just I try and convey that I totally trust you. I cast you. I think you can do it. I believe you can do it. And then it's easier for them to believe they can do it as well.
Yes, I think that's a really good point. Something that people might want to ask is, do you record in sequence, and do you have a concept of how it's all going to fit together when you record? Is it can you hear it in your head? But yeah, in sequence or not?
Well, we don't always record in sequence. I prefer to go chronologically if I can, because again, that's easier for the actors to know where their character is on that journey. But sometimes you've got actors who are only available for the afternoon, or some actors who have to leave at lunchtime, so you've got to cluster their scenes together, and then I have to go through all the scenes that we're missing out and give the actors the context and say, well, before this scene, this explosion happened, and you're all in a state of shock. Because if you don't do that, then you're not going to get the right dynamic. But yeah, I get that's really heavy to hold all that in your head, so that's quite a complex part of it.
Well, when we're talking about how it all goes together, I suppose it's worth bringing in Howard. Now, on these Ninth Doctor adventures, you didn't do the sound design. You often do sound design, don't you?
Yes, indeed.
But for this, you did the music. What stage did you become involved in the process?
So I think I knew quite early on that these were coming up, and then you and I had a discussion about what direction we were going to take with the series, what you wanted, a bit of the minutiae of the sound world we're going to create. So just started by creating some example pieces of music just to see if we're on the same page, and get a few themes together. And you and I went back and forth and found something we quite liked the sound of. So there was a opportunity to build a template, get all my ducks in a row, and then I had the scripts through to read. And then I just patiently wait for the sound designer to get his act together and get things over to me, and I'm chomping at the bit, ready to go.
I should say that in this case, one of the reasons we had an initial conversation is because we needed to get together a trailer for the first box set quite early on, and I needed some music for it. I had some sound design there to edit together from Ian Meadows, who's a brilliant sound designer, but we needed some music, and you gave me a few pieces of what you were thinking of, which you later developed even more. You were a little bit nervous about me putting them out there since they were your test pieces.
No, it's fine. It's always a nice way of actually working, getting something initially that we can agree on and find a sound, and it makes the whole process a lot easier, because there's also like a very solid starting point or a foundation, so we know where we're going with the sound world, and it's more than about filling in gaps and exploring the stories individually.
And when you started composing music for the episodes, do you receive notes from the director?
I think we hit the ground running on this one because we'd already done the first series. There were a few themes in place, and again, the sound world was there. I had my big old template set up, and then it's a case of looking at the individual stories, seeing if there are any particular themes that need to be explored, any characters that might deserve their own little motif, or any ideas. And then I think Helen and I, we worked together quite a lot, so we've got a lovely rapport. I think we hit the ground running.
You talked there about themes. You create themes and motifs for specific characters. Do you also, focus on mood as well?
Very much so. It's something that I try and do with a series like this. It's nice to have a bedrock. So the overall sound of the series is very familiar, but with each story, create a certain palette of sounds and instruments which make each one unique. And there are obviously bits in the story where you need various characters might need a bit more attention than others. I'm trying to think of things I can say that won't give away any spoilers, but there are certain characters in this that need a little bit of their own motif and a little bit of, like you say, a little bit of mood needs creating in certain scenes. There's not much I can say without giving it away, so I should be careful. But yeah,
let's explain our terms here. You keep using the word motif. Some people might not know what that means. Could you describe that for us?
Sure. Motif or theme is say perhaps a short repeated phrase or a musical instrument that you may associate with a character or a certain psychological situation, and it repeats and it can evolve over the piece, but it gives a sense of continuity throughout and evolution perhaps over the whole episode.
So it's a series of notes, a tune or indeed an instrument?
A little tune, a little instrument. You could think of if you've seen Jaws, you know that the famous little motif there for the shark. I think of E.T., the character, the little melody for E.T. It's those kind of things, little nuggets that stick in your head and can follow you through a large piece of body work.
God, I'm hearing that now, actually. What instrumentation would you say suits the Ninth Doctor as opposed to other stories you've worked on?
So it's a balance, really, between a slightly more traditional orchestral score with a lot more synthesizers added. It's got more of a drum kit, roomy sound. It's a move away from maybe the slightly more traditional, say, the ETs and the Jaws. It's more of a hybrid feel. So there's a lot of electronics going on there. It works. It's got to be snappy. It's got to go at quite a lick and quite a pace. So it's.
Oh, you dropped out there. Have we lost Howard?
Shall I leave and come back in and see if that helps?
Okay, all right. Well, while you're doing that, I wanted time now for us all to talk about, or you all to talk about how you first got started in the business. Lisa, how did it all start for you? How did writing start for you?
Well, I was a teacher. I was a high school drama teacher for quite a lot of years. And then a friend that I'd been to drama school with, because originally I wanted to be an actor, but that didn't work out because I was terrible. So I became a drama teacher. And then
some of us, you know.
And then a friend that I'd been to drama school with asked me if I'd write a play so he could actually be in something, because he hadn't worked for years. So we co-produced a little play above a pub theatre in London and produced it ourselves. And I thought, well, this is much more fun than teaching. So I packed in my day job. I'm not sure I'd recommend doing that immediately. I think I'd wean yourself off your day job actually is probably a better idea, because I had a hairy, scary couple of years where I didn't earn very much money at all. And then I very slowly started I wrote some spec scripts, sent them to various writing competitions. I met Matt through another friend and begged him, harassed him over a number of occasions to please let me write for Big Finish. And eventually he asked me to send him a spec script. A spec script is a sample of your writing that you send out to people to try and get work. And then he finally gave in and allowed me to write on one of your series called Survivors. And then the rest was history. But TV-wise, it just took a lot of knocking on doors and emailing and applying to schemes and things and getting an agent, which is quite, I mean, it's possible to work without an agent, but an agent makes things a lot easier. But they do take 10%. Oh my God, I'm obsessed with money. That's the second time I've mentioned money.
Yes, you are coming across as money obsessed, Lisa. No, we're really grateful for, you know, that you write so many lovely scripts for us. So thank you so much. Well done to Matt. Matt, how did you get started?
Well, I'd always wanted to write ever since being a boy, and I did a kind of a normal job for quite a long time and decided actually I needed to try and exercise this creative urge. So I looked for opportunities to write things like the BBC Writers' Room, it always helps to read a lot of scripts if you're interested in writing scripts of whatever it is you want to write. And I'd always listened to Big Finish since it began. I'd always been a Doctor Who fan. I'd listened to Big Finish from the first release. So I felt I knew the audio world. And I'd loved things on the radio like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy and the Lord of the Rings dramatization that I listened to when I was younger. And so it just happened that when I was looking around for opportunities, Big Finish had an open script opportunity, a submission opportunity, which I went in for about 10 years ago now. I didn't win. I didn't come first in that particular submission. But the script editor, Alan Barnes, came back to me and said he kind of liked what I'd done and could I redevelop the story idea I had and the script I had for different Doctor and companion. So I did that. I wrote my first story for the sixth Doctor, Colin Baker. And
I directed it, didn't I? Yes, I remember.
And from then on, I've just continued working for Big Finish. It seems that yes, things I've done have been liked, have been successful, and I've built up a really nice relationship with producers and script editors and directors there, and been given more and more responsibilities. So as a script editor, I now help bring new people in, which is a joy to do. It's great when we look for new people. Something Lisa mentioned earlier, people who've written for theatre are always a good call, a good bet to try on audio. And yeah, we're always kind of looking for people who've got a track record, who show they can write, and who are interested in Doctor Who and audio.
Well, thank you, Matt. You know, in common with everyone here, you are loved and trusted and highly thought of. So thank you. Helen, we will be coming to you to hear your epic story of your entry into showbiz, but I feel we should grab Howard while his internet's still working. How did you start out, Howard?
So I was very lucky. I just finished music school. I just finished piano degree. And I think it was through a mutual acquaintance. I very boldly got in touch with you and sent you a copy of some of my work and asked if I could possibly audition. You very gratefully said yes. And the audition went reasonably well. And I think we just took it from there. I think I had a first speculative job. That seemed to go down okay. And then we started working together on a regular basis. And here we are. Crikey, it's 10 years.
Amazing.
So there we go.
I remember being absolutely delighted by the samples you sent, and yeah, and I think it was it Patient Zero?
I think I did a companion chronicle to begin with called Stealers from Safe, and then I was entrusted with Patient Zero, which is the first time you and I worked together. Yeah, many moons ago.
Great stuff. Okay, the moment everyone's been waiting for. Helen Goldwyn.
It's hard to know how to sum it all up, so I'll try and be quick. I was an actor, couldn't get auditions, did do lots of lovely work, but was constantly battling to get through doors, knocking on locked doors all the time. And in actual fact, I started writing properly when I turned down a job. I was offered a year's tour, international tour in Fiddler on the Roof, understudying one of the daughters. And as soon as my agent said understudying, I thought, I can't do that. I can't go around the world for a year doing tradition in the background and not playing the part. So I turned it down, and then I had to justify that decision. I wrote my first screenplay, which I entered for a Channel 4 competition. And I didn't win like Matt, but they were very encouraging, and they said, keep going, you know, you've got some talent. So that was great. And in directing wise, because I was writing my own stuff, then I was directing it as well, because who else is going to direct it when you've got no money? And I always had a directing instinct, always loved to, I knew exactly how I wanted it interpreted. And then it was just a natural progression from being an actor with Big Finish to becoming a director and a writer. And, you know, I feel very lucky to be in a space where I can use all of my range of experience and ability. So I'm just very, very grateful to be here.
Well, we're lucky to have you. I'm very grateful to have you and all of you on board. Thank you very much. And I think that seems a good note to end on. Thanks to all of you. I hope you enjoyed this insight, folks. You at Brit Sci-Fi. It's an insight into how a Big Finish Doctor Who audio production is created. And we hope you will take time to enjoy listening to the Ninth Doctor Adventures starring Christopher Eccleston. I didn't have to read that bit. I knew his name. There are 3 volumes available to purchase now at Big Finish. It's at bigfinish.com, our website. So why don't you just go there and find out. Thank you and goodbye.